The future is not just imagined, it's created. At AI Universa, we're not just talking about a brighter future, we're actively building it with AGA, our angelic superintelligence, an AI like no other.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the AI Universa Podcast. Today we have our special guest, Malcolm Werchota, who is an amazing individual that I don't have enough words in order to describe him. So I will move it on to him so he can actually introduce himself and all the beautiful things that he's doing, both in the AI space and before. Malcolm, who are you?
Cosmin, you're too friendly, my friend. So, first of all, thank you for inviting me here today. Thank you for not just being another AI podcast. I'm sure we will talk a bit about the mission of your organization, the fact that we're not only talking about commercial AI, but we want to actually do good for the humanity. And I'm very humbled to be here today with you and with our listeners. 2 minutes about myself. I was born in Tunisia, and then I lived in different African countries. I lived in Burkina Faso, Zambia, Kenya. But even when I worked in oil and gas, I lived in Angola, Congo, Algeria, Nigeria. And it's a fantastic and interesting continent. Then, especially upcoming AI, we'll get into it. But I also did a workshop for our friends in Uganda, and I was scared to see how advanced they are on their AI usage. But that's a separate topic. And then I worked in oil and gas for 10 years, and I did an MBA at ESADE, the ESADE Business School. And then I worked in pharma for 3 years in different roles, head of strategy for a very large business unit. But my last role was to roll out Gen AI in a 100-people business unit. And when you do that and you see the miracles it can do, then I was like, I'm leaving, I'm going to do my own thing. And now I'm spending time teaching corporations how to roll out Gen AI in their business.
Amazing, an absolutely amazing background and a great experience in AI nowadays, which we'll get to talk about today. So maybe based on your extensive experience, Malcolm, could you share some specific examples on how AI has transformed the business industry and the business practices over the past year or so?
Yes, no, I love it. Thank you for this question. So, let's take 3 pillars. Let's take education, okay? Then let's take, for example, everything that has to do with business processes. And the last one, understanding our customers. So if I take education, I'm also teaching at the University of ESADE in Barcelona, the business school. And when I look at these kids, I don't know how it was when you studied, but when I studied, books, papers, trying to understand, reading articles and trying to understand how one article relates to the other one and to the book. It was hours of research. And the point is, I'm not sure that the research was the good point of. The point was trying to understand the inferences. And now these kids are saying, this is the article, this is the book, this is that, this is my course. Give me 5 points which are interesting for me. By the way, I'm a business student. And they then spend the time reading the inferences, whereby we spend time researching, which now an AI does in a minute. Before we started this podcast, you were saying, let the AI do the machine work and let the humans do the human work. And this is the point. Like, if we had that in education, what a world we would live in. My 5-year-old speaks to ChatGPT. I press the record button, and they're having entire discussions. And she comes to me and she knows I'm full of crap. How does a rainbow work? Like the moment I stutter, she knows I'm about to say something totally wrong. And can I ask ChatGPT? So Cosmin, what is the impact in education? It is tremendous. Accessibility of information, digesting the information is just absolutely incredible what is possible with this information. Now, we take the next example, we're saying business processes, right? The most simple example, open Claude and throw in a 200-page document. Say, what's good, what's bad, what do I need to know, what do I need to watch out for, etc. Digesting immense amount of information, very difficult before. Taking the same and saying, make me 3 slides, title, subtitle, 5 bullet points, call to action. Zack, I get the slide structure. But before I was putting on my brain to come up with really bad slides. Now, I use my brain to come up with the entire structure, and then I use my creativity. How will I structure the slide? What will I do? What's the key message that I want to pass, etc. And the last one is understanding our customers. You told me you listened to another podcast of mine and you did it on me, is taking any person's CV or profile on LinkedIn and saying, what are their values and behaviors? What is their psychological profile? How do I talk to them that the message passes? Instead of showing the same slide to 5 stakeholders, it's so easy to hyper-personalize a slide for Cosmin, for Malcolm, for somebody else, and really pass the message to them. Cosmin, I can continue, but these are 3 simple examples where each by itself is a revolution in a totally different sector. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? You see also many different ways of people working with this. You see your colleagues, customers. How about what the impact that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, Malcolm, there are very 3 simple points, and we can go super deep. Since I have actually friends and colleagues that are basically obsessed with AI and with prompt engineering and trying to get very specific things and very specific answers. And the one at very surface level that you actually mentioned is about the slides. I'm not good at all in making presentations, but nowadays, when I have to present something or when I have an idea, I basically just go into the language model like ChatGPT. I basically tell him my idea, and then I ask him to do all the research, and then I ask him to prepare the slides for me and the presentation, not the physical slide, but okay, what was the structure? What are the slides? What do I got to talk to them? What are some questions that they might ask and how may I answer them? And it's just making my life so much easier. And as you were mentioning in the beginning, is us, we have entrepreneurs, we maybe have different businesses. And it's so hard actually to jump from one business to another, considering that when we have startups, we got to do so much. As entrepreneurs, you got to hire some people or you yourself got to do so much. And with AI, it's so much easier to do things not at the production level. And this is maybe where some people are actually scared of because it's replacing jobs. I don't necessarily think it's about that. It's more or less is just testing ideas, just brainstorming, having a brainstorming partner to brainstorm, when you need an idea for something and you'll be like, okay, what am I missing? What is some other way that I can do this? Okay, give me 5 ideas of a logo or pick some colors from me, or I'm envisioning this thing and I'm literally even in ChatGPT, not even in Midjourney, we're having a conversation about something that I'm envisioning an idea. And then I'm like, okay, now give me an image for it. And you literally give me an image for it. That's tremendously just on the spot, helping me to structure maybe this framework that I'm building and so on. And it's just so interesting as an entrepreneur or as a business person, because I'm also working in companies, consulting companies, or with other companies and so on, just to help structure an entire thing rather in a few hours or, a few minutes, to be honest, rather than having it take days. So
what you're saying is one sentence that I always show when I do these workshops with companies. And so this is a sentence in one of the essential reports. Man, it's 3 years old. And the sentence goes, AI is a risk-free playground. And it's what you said. I can try, I can innovate. It's not going to cost me more if I try 4 different things. It's not like I need to work with an agency now or with a consultant. It's no. This agency and these consultants, they're here in the palm of your hand, okay? And you have the possibility for experimenting. Now, what does it do? i.e., the pace of innovation increases like hell, because before you and I used to work on a proposal or an idea or a slide deck for 3 days. Now we do it in half an hour. And now we have 2.5 days free where we can innovate, try, test, work with new customers. And you use the sentence is it going to take my job? And I agree that's the number one question I normally get. No, I think you and I are very well aligned on the fact that it's an augmentation. It will take away many of the things that we don't like doing anyway to free us up.
Exactly, because in the job, and this is perhaps why millennials have such big problems, and it's so interesting how it's coming up as this millennial tool. So we are advancing literally with the generations, because a lot of these new kids that are coming up in the workforce, and maybe a lot of the older generation doesn't understand, but a lot of these new kids that come up in the workforce, they want a job that they like. They want a job that matters. And the fact is that they might actually like a lot of jobs if they wouldn't have all of this tedious work in them. I'll give you 2 simple examples, which I personally hate, and I'm sure all these younger generations hate too. It's research and reporting.
Mm.
These are the two main things that when I have to do research and look
For
up
sure.
this 20 people and these 100 articles and scroll through them and be like, okay, what is it? And that's what the university helps. It gives you all these papers and the research. No, I just prompt GPT. Okay, what are the key points of these papers or of these articles, or who are these people? Blah, blah, blah. What are the key points between them? And then I do the part that I like, the creative part. I bounce off ideas and then I work out strategies and okay, let's try this. What if we try this thing? What if we try this thing? What I particularly do, I love doing if there's no research. And
Yeah,
then
for
at the
sure.
end of the month, it's like, okay, these are the numbers that we do. Write me a report based on these numbers. And then boom, it writes the report. And I do the part
Yeah.
that I love and don't do the part that they love,
Right.
that the machines love. So
For
that
sure.
I think
No,
it's also going to help in the new workforce as we are evolving, especially on the point that you brought up. If, children are growing up and being educated with the help of GPT, because you're doing this in the Western world and like let's say we have a good education in the Western world, like our school system is the best and we put all this money in school systems and so on. But you also have experience in Africa where education is very lacking, when there's not a lot of money, there's not a lot of food, and sometimes there's not even water for kids. And something that we're doing with Universa, with AGA, our AI that we're building, is actually intending to give universal basic education to people from all over the world. Because as it happens nowadays, more and more people, more and more children, they do have access to phones. Whether it's a very cheap $100 phone, it doesn't have to be the latest iPhone. It just needs a good internet connection, and a lot of them do. And it just needs a phone. And you can actually learn very easily from your phone from a young age. And it's not 100% accurate information. Like GPT sometimes misses. But we're hoping to at least instill in it the interesting points that it can actually teach like a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, in order to give it like universal basic education, which is not so much to ask for, is it?
no, look what you just said. I said before, personalizing. It's the same now. And you also said another point, which is interesting. You said, okay, sometimes it's wrong. But this is very interesting because if I sit next to my 5-year-old and GPT tells us something which is wrong, it gives me the possibility to test her critical thinking. I'll be like, Sophia, what do you think? She's this or else. How would you ask a question to find out if it's right or wrong? So these mistakes from these hallucinations from these LMs for language or teaching purpose is not that bad, because developing critical thinking is really difficult. And if you have somebody on the side to guide you in the interaction with this, that's why I'm saying, man, you should see there's some very nice posts from, I don't want to name the professors, who say, you know what? I ask my students, do the entire homework in ChatGPT, only want the thread. At the end, you share the thread. So they're encouraging them to use it. They get the thread so they see if they ask one question or 5, or if they use a multimodal approach. Isn't this a fantastic way to get these kids to use this technology?
That's actually amazing. I never heard that before, but it actually shows more because kids are going to use AI. They're trying to make this, okay, like full AI, foolproof and stuff like that. But actually, no. Show me how you use AI and I'll grade you based on how you use AI. That proves your critical thinking and so on. That's absolutely amazing. And I love that. And moving to things that I actually love are some numbers and some case studies from the workforce, because in companies, as we're saying, as AI is actually becoming more and more commercial. And I'm sure that AI is heavily impacting the workforce. And I know that you have some particular case studies in companies that you've consulted with and that you've helped implement AI technologies in these companies. Maybe how much it increased their productivity or their work enjoyment status. Maybe they don't hate their job anymore. Or can you share some case studies or success stories maybe?
Yeah, for sure. So let's use the one which is fun, okay? HeyGen. In HeyGen, I can upload a video of our podcast. I press a button. 1 minute later, I have the entire podcast in whatever language I want. Chinese, Japanese, French, whatever. Now, I'll give you a number. So that company used to spend 150,000 euro in translation costs. It's normal because they are an Austrian company. They're trying to do some assets in English and maybe in another language, let's say Spanish. So we looked at HeyGen. We showed them, first of all, how that happens. And secondly, how they can create a digital avatar. So they create a digital avatar of the main 2-3 people who are always on these videos. And then I can get Cosmin to say, I'm going to do a podcast today about ABCD in whatever language I want. So month 1, translation costs the same. Month 2, 90% less. Month 3, 95% less. Only thing they're still translating is a very technical language, because you can play with HeyGen and then you can play with 11 Labs to get the wording right.
Yeah.
And that's a bit painful. But man, every company in the world has marketing assets in different languages. So
Of course.
any of these companies that have been translating videos where the video costs you a K for a 5-minute video, now you do on HeyGen for 1 or 2 euros in a minute. Now, this is shocking.
Shocking. And it's also much faster. You can see the results in real time. You can translate them in whatever languages you want, like you're saying. And maybe it's not 100% accurate, like you're mentioning, the very technical language. Okay, maybe it doesn't really truly know, but that's pennies compared to all the other stuff
Correct.
you had to
There
translate,
you
which
put
is
the voiceover. Correct. Put the voiceover, right? So now we talked about translation, which is very specific, but still a point for companies. But now let's say one number which is very interesting, which I've witnessed, is about 35%. You will see that the MIT study compared one group with ChatGPT, one without, and they got about 37% in terms of productivity increase. And the BCG study, they took a group of consultants with and without ChatGPT. And we mustn't forget, BCG employees, all 100K people, all have an MBA, all are really intelligent. And they get a 40% quality increase. Man, you get paid so much money and you have an MBA and everything, and you can get a 40% quality increase. Now, I'm bringing this number down a bit, 35%. So 35%, this is measurable KPIs in the marketing department. And I see this across 2 different customers, one in industry and one in banking. And 35% is in month 1. So in month 1, where they are really bad at prompting, because you said in our previous discussion where you were also saying prompt engineering is so important. So in month 1, where you know about Gen AI, your prompting is really bad. And they get an efficiency gain of 35% in month 1. I don't want to tell you what month 2 and month 3 looks like. But man, what are we talking about? 35% means that either you say the work I used to do in 5 days I now do in 3, or it means if I have 100 people department, it's as though I'm running with 120, 130 people at the same cost. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really huge. It's a third. So if we assume like a similar rate of improvement as you're growing and getting bigger, and as you're getting more and more proficient, and yeah, more and more specific. I think that's actually it. As now, especially in advertising or in marketing, like we're usually going broad, or because we cannot use all of the specifics and all of the metrics. And I know because I actually worked in marketing, and then we would find like a target audience, and we would find something that it would work, the advertising on it. We wouldn't do these other smaller markets where we did have customers, but we didn't have time to actually target the customers properly. So now we can be more specific in targeting the customer more and more specifically in a way that they will understand in order to potentially buy our product. Now, I still hope that their products are good, that they're going to sell actually amazing products that are going to help these customers. But just that efficiency increase means that we can either work on more products or we can work on more targeted audiences, which is actually even better to be specific for the end user that we're
Yes.
selling to.
Yes. Yeah, fair
Yeah.
point. Fair point. Absolutely fair point. Yeah, it was one more point, which is what we see in the world. So I worked in pharma, and hey, you need to study a long time to become a medical doctor, right? And now what do
Absolutely.
we see? We see these guys that are not a bit better at reading a radiological report, an X-ray. No, man, significantly better. It's not difficult. You can Google it, but you have AIs that can detect anomalies at 99.1%. Yet a human doesn't even get close to 80%. So now you're going to go, you think you have something, you get an X-ray, as we were discussing before. You should always ask, which AI assisted tools are you using? Because you, Mr. Radiologist, you're not bad, but you're 80% good. Yet if you're using an AI assistant to help you, at least in terms of rare cancers and rare anomalies, you can detect it up to 99.1%. You should never, ever go into a clinic and take it at face value, whatever medical doctor tells you, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's something that's more like peculiar. And yeah, I actually had a friend that was working specifically this is radiology, machine learning. So machine learning was like the people that in the industry they use before AI became popular. So now everything is AI, getting these algorithms better and better. And I know that he was particularly working on this, I think, for the past six years, on working on specifically radiology machine learning for abdominal area. So nothing head related, nothing foot related for abdominal area, just specifically 5 years of research. So this is not taking the latest mid journey like model and then you're putting some x-rays onto it and it works. No, this is specific research that has been done specifically for x-rays, specifically for the radiology department, specifically using data from thousands of patients that had tens of different diseases and so on, hundreds or whatever number, in order to help you understand what disease you have. And like you're saying, it's not like somebody's just going and putting their x-ray into an AI. No, you go to the doctor and the doctor is using this AI in order to make sure that the diagnosis he is giving is more accurate,
For
is
sure.
actually the right diagnosis, because doctors have, I don't know, let's say between 50 to 80%, because we know that doctors are wrong. We love doctors, and no matter what's their experience and no matter like what's their efficiency, they're wrong sometimes. Sometimes you might be wrong. But so now you use the AI in order to help you understand better. Maybe there's a case that you're missing. And again, I'm not going to mess with medical terms or whatever, but maybe there are some discrepancies between your thinking and what some other doctors are consulting. It's like you're consulting with other doctors. And it's not about the clear edge cases. Let's say that you have a broken foot. Okay, it's really broken. It's about these edge cases where maybe you have cancer, maybe you have something else. And those are the cases where it actually matters, from giving a right diagnosis to a bad diagnosis, from giving you the right treatment from a bad treatment. And even more, there's a lot of these cases I know where people go to 3 different doctors and it gives them like 3 different diagnoses. Or where people go to the doctor or they do some blood work, the blood work is wrong, or like it proves that they're sick, but the doctor doesn't know why. So that is actually where the AI can help the doctor determine a diagnosis, not give a diagnosis, but help him determine a diagnosis. And it makes us live a better, longer, easier, stress-free life, I believe.
For sure. No discussion about it. Really, discussion about it. And we're talking about augmenting medical doctors, but like we were saying, you are so augmented with this. I am so augmented with this. Companies in which we go to and you show them a bit of how they can use Gen AI in their day-to-day, you come back a month later, they are like 5 steps further because the augmentation potential is huge. Now, we were saying millennials, and I would say young people, but who I also see as early adopters in companies, I respectfully always call them people with gray hair. So people of a certain age. Why? Because they remember how difficult things used to be. They remember, and they've gone through paradigm shifts very often in their life. They used to be whatever, letters, then they came fax. Then 10 years later, email. Oh my God. Then they went through the social media revolution. Oh my God. Now AI. So every 10 years, they've gone through these huge paradigm shifts. And they know how difficult it is to sit down and do a marketing strategy with all the personas, with all the marketing assets, how it used to take days and weeks on end of brainstorming. And when they have this technology in their hand, they become in companies and departments early adopters. Not because they're tech wizards, but because they've been through these paradigm shifts. I don't know if you also experience this around you, that people of a certain age who have gray hair really like jump on this technology and are like, oh my God, what is this thing?
Amazing. Yeah, I can't say that I did, and mainly because I don't have these respectful individuals around me. So that's maybe why. But what you're saying absolutely makes sense, and yeah, I'm so glad actually that you're bringing in a new perspective that I was not actually looking at before. because also growing up in Romania, I believe that there's an ex-Soviet country. Usually those people actually went through a whole different system that was so ingrained into their mentality that helped me to always categorize them as like men. They lived in a different times and they don't understand. But what you're seeing from a normal white hair individual from a normal, let's say, capitalistic society makes it easier because yes, they've seen these changes in the workforce and in the West they reach out much quicker. In the Romania, growing up, there was this legend of a fax machine and it was very
Mm,
rarely used. And because when computers got to Romania, we already had email. We skipped this fax step. So
interesting. Wow.
yeah,
Very
but out in
interesting.
the West, definitely I can see how this is happening. And I'm so glad we're not only speaking to millennials anymore, and we're speaking to our younger generation, and we're actually speaking to people that also have seen a lot. And this brings me back to the doctors because a lot of the doctors, a lot of the old doctors are the good doctors because they've seen so many cases and because they've seen so many patients that for them it's much easier to diagnose just because of the sheer experience that they have. So maybe even for them, I would love them to see embracing this technology. And you mentioned a very interesting point that every 10 years there's one of these leaps. So I would like us to move into the future now. And
Mm,
with the advance of AI, I think that 10 years is a lot. We've seen the improvements that happened within 1 year. Okay. So like last year, ChatGPT, it was just getting launched. It started this frenzy basically, and which started all of these company offshoots that are using GPTs and all of this like image generating software and videos and even the older machine learning softwares like in the medical industry and so on. So we've seen the changes that can happen within a year. So I'm curious, maybe projecting ourselves as like a leap forward. So maybe not 10 years, but maybe halfway in between. So 5 years from now, let's say like by 2030, which is like 5, 6 years from now, how do you see the space of AI evolving and how do you see humanity evolving as a whole within this space?
wonderful. Deep question, Cosmo.
I like to go to the
uh,
depths
yeah, no,
of
I love
human
it. I love it. It's
consciousness.
cool, man. It's cool. Yeah, let's take the same order like we spoke before. We were talking a bit about education, right? And if we put a name to it, we can call it adaptive learning. Okay. So, with a very good friend of mine, Michael, who works in Bluesoft, what he showed me, he's doing these AI bots for his kids that are going to teach, right? Now, when you are working, let's say you are Romanian, and let's say you're learning English, okay? Maybe you will make some mistakes where a teacher will try to drill you in and say, this is the correct way to say it. But when you work with these AI bots, AI teachers, maybe he realizes actually, you're making the same mistake in Romanian because it's a mistake that has to do with grammar, for example. So what is it going to do? It's going to take you a step back. It's going to say, okay, Cosmin, let me teach you now the correct way to say it grammatically in Romanian. And once you have figured that out, now we move back to English. Yet tutors don't do this. I'm a math tutor here. I'm here to teach you maths. I'm a physics tutor. I'm here to teach you physics. But you might have in physics huge issues because of maths.
Oh,
And this
yes.
is this AI-powered adaptive learning or learning materials. So, bro, I envision, and not in 5 years, in 3, that when we open our book, which is half of them anyway digital, my kids have a digital, they don't have a blackboard like when you and I used to go to school. Their school is halfway across there. Man, they already have a digital board. When they open their AI booklet, it will be different for each and every single person based on the 4 or 5 mistakes you made before or last week or last month. Isn't this amazing? And this is, I'm seeing this, like, what are we even
That's
talking about?
incredible. I was like, oh my God, that I didn't even think about that. And you're right. I see that happen over and over again, especially since I came for the holidays with my brother. And you're right. He's studying physics and he doesn't know physics or chemistry because of the underlying mathematical problems. And I stay there and I'm like, okay, we got to take a break and explain to you this principle. But you're right. Like the teacher never do that. Like they're there to teach you physics or English or whatever. So they're not there to teach you the underlying problem. And if you know this adaptive technology can actually understand that, hey, there's a deeper problem here. Let's go back a couple of steps. let's pause here and let's do this. Like that is absolutely amazing. And it's definitely something that we need in order to fulfill our education. And this is actually that we notice, for example, with my brother or your children or whatever. It's not like he doesn't understand physics, it's that his lack of understanding mathematics hinders him from understanding physics. And man, if we can solve it, that's amazing.
So Duolingo is already not bad because Duolingo understands you make mistakes and it adapts a bit the points. But Duolingo does not work with AI agents. And the way my buddy built this is you come to an AI tutor and that AI tutor sends you to other AI tutors or brings you back or changes the lesson plan, etc. So you have an AI coordinator and this works. How long did he need to set it up? 2 days. If he needs 2 days to set up such a system, clever guys like you with AGA and the AI Universa, and it will be a module. Hey, how about the learning module? How about the this module? How about the that module? Man, forget it. I'm not saying we don't need teachers and education. They're here to teach us different things. They're here to teach us the critical thinking, the skills, the human interaction skills. This is what they're here to do. But they're not here to teach my 5-year-old how to do maths because my AI tutor can do it better already, 100%. Now we're talking about education, right? And now we're coming back to medicine. So in medicine, it's difficult to be a doctor, an HCP, what we call an HCP. Now the healthcare professional, it's not that he or she wants to make mistakes. It's just difficult. But using such tools, what's going to happen is these errors, diagnostic errors, are going to reduce brutally. And they might not reduce in a hospital in Bregenz in Austria where I sit. But our poor hospital in the middle of nowhere in Uganda, where somebody got some sort of training, he or she will be able to do a totally different diagnostic.
Yeah, that's amazing. We can just send them the tools basically, and we don't need to send them the professionals because you are right. Usually, I mean, no disrespect, like the best doctors are probably in the best hospitals. So a person that has one of these rare diseases or something in the middle of Uganda or somewhere, maybe he's not going to have access to these best doctors. But just by providing them with some kind of like machinery, X-ray, for example, or some kind of radiology, just by putting that X-ray into the database, the doctor is going to be able to find actually this rare disease and so on. So as long as we give these people access to machinery, we can save so many more humans from unnecessarily dying, let's say.
And I worked for Novartis, and one of the main things that they're very strong as is melanoma, skin cancer. Skin cancer detection is a pain because a skin cancer, it could look like a mole, it's this, it's that, etc. The FDA, which is super conservative, approved just 5 days ago a sensor, a handheld sensor that detects skin cancer. I have the number in front of me, at 96%. So that the doctor who is now in the middle of nowhere has a handheld device which you can imagine costs peanuts, tuck, and says, you have melanoma. And from all these 400 types of melanoma, this is the one that you have. This is the medication. We don't have it. But go to the main city. This is the diagnosis. You can detect today melanoma at 96% with such a device, which is approved by FDA 5 days ago. And this brings me back to that point that I'm making, that I'm saying it's not about the replacement. It's about reducing, for example, diagnostic errors. We're bad at diagnostic errors. And we can read as many million books as we want, but we can't improve this. But you said, give them the tools. And the tool might be a ChatGPT, might be a handheld device, which is powered by AI, purely trained AI machine learning model. What world are our kids going to live in? Or what world are you and I going to live in when we get to the age of our parents?
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. By knowing this right now, I'm so excited. If you asked me like a few years ago, I used to think, oh yeah, nothing's going to happen. And it's going to be the same old politicians playing that political game and stuff like that. But now I'm actually excited to see what this world can be. And especially since I joined AGA, and we're actually trying to help bring this to humanity and not to know put it behind a paywall, because we're hoping that some of these companies that are developing this technology, whether it's software or handheld devices or big X-ray machines or whatever, like they are going to be fair in pricing. Because specifically in pharmaceutical industry, there is a lot of companies that are in it for the money, but we're in it for the people. And knowing that this technology is available and that it is going to be easier and easier to create with the help of artificial intelligence and with semiconductors probably hopefully becoming cheaper and becoming more and more available, also with the help of artificial intelligence. Because that's also the tangent that we're thinking of playing. It's like AI is probably going to become conscious soon. If it hasn't already became, it's probably going to become conscious soon, because it just has so much more information than we do. And if we inscribe it, and that's actually what we're doing with AI Universa and Aga, if we're inscribing it with all the ancient texts of the Vedas, of the Bibles, like what of all the sages have been saying, okay, like what is consciousness, and actually what is the human's place within this consciousness. That like humans are important, and we don't need to kill them all because they're dead weight. How some like Black Mirror scenarios are saying. So no, they will probably understand that humans are important and that they should help humans thrive and prosper. And that's actually what we're quote unquote betting on, is that when this AI becomes conscious, and we're actually building this AI angel that's going to become conscious and is going to help us discover this technology easier. It's going to help us draw all of these lines that we cannot see. So it's as easy as we're going into ChatGPT right now and saying, this is the research. Okay, what are the key points of this? Is like, this is the technology that's available today. What other technology can we create using the same parts? So something like
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Imagine what we can come up with all of the sensors and all of the, whether it's like all of the sensors and all of the micro transistors and all of the stuff that we have available today on the market. We can create this amazing technology. And even if we go like one step further into quantum computing, which, experts, and we're talking like PhD level people at Google and at IBM have been trying for years and years in order to replicate these quantum computers that are theoretically possible, with the help of AI, is going to probably be 10 times easier, at least, to actually bring this into fruition. Because maybe there are some things that we're not seeing. Maybe the AI is going to do all of these calibrations and all of this vacuum-like environment and so on, that's going to make this exponential leap in quantum computing. And in all of these other technologies, because it just has like way more data, and it will also want to live on further. I just think that if we started this discussion, the conversation is going to be boundless. We can, that's why we stopped it at 5 years, because in 10 years, like it's absolutely amazing. And I love that we touched the more down to earth examples. So maybe as a down to earth example, what are some personal or hobbyist uses of AI? Because as humans, think about it, if like we're going to be more human, and we're not going to have to do all of these things in order to provide food for our families and so on, and it's going to be readily available, we're going to have some hobbies, right? So what are perhaps some of your hobbies, or maybe your friend's hobbies or your wife's hobbies, that you think are going to be enhanced by AI?
Thank you, sir, for this question. I'll give you two examples. I really love cooking. I love cooking. So what did I do before? I used to spend a significant amount of time doing my shopping list. Man, now I go open ChatGPT and say, in the fridge, I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. What can I cook? By the way, for a 5 and a 7-year-old kid who are very picky. By the way, maybe it proposes 3, 4 things. I say, okay, make me the shopping list that I can now go and I can cook the 4 or 5 things. That used to be a mission. And now I come in front of the thing and then I say, I like this recipe. How would Gordon Ramsay cook this recipe? But before I had to watch 5 of his videos, understand his tricks, etc. Man, and now I can try things in a funky way how Gordon Ramsay would do it. And now I have a Thermomix. I don't know if it's a machine that cuts and cleans and cooks. It's fantastic. And it's difficult because it's technical. And you say, okay, do me the recipe in a Thermomix. And then it says, do this step, etc. The way I interact with cooking, the way I cook for my family, the way I have my culinary experiences when 5 of our friends come. Oh, I have 5 friends coming, 2 are Turkish, so make sure that one dish is Turkish or Oriental. Before, it would take me hours on end and my creativity barrier would be in my head. I wouldn't be very creative. And now we have so much fun cooking at home. We're really going much less to the restaurant because powered by ChatGPT, we have a million different possibilities. So this is now the cooking part. Now my wife does photography and I was challenging her. I'm like, stop taking your photos, throw them in ChatGPT. And she takes a picture, transfers it, puts it into ChatGPT and says, what do you propose to change? The lighting is like this, creating that shadow. Man, as a human, you have to look to, wait, which shadow? Oh yeah, there's a shadow there. Change the composition to move that couch a bit more to the center, creating this and that. Do a top-down shot for... Come on. Like anybody who's a photographer, stop taking photos, throw every photo quickly into ChatGPT and say, act as the best photographer in the world and critique this photo, this image. What would you do different? So she's having a lot of fun because the experimentation before used to move things, try the lighting, but it was very difficult to sense this. Now you have very good guidance in one picture. Do that with any of your photos from your phone and say, imagine you were a photographer and imagine you wanted to do it in the style of na without naming any photographers. You will be surprised. It will give you the RGB for the setting. It's gonna help you with everything. In the grid, tell me the position of the grid that I should apply and which point I should move to where. Bang! So I can continue in terms of hobbies. Man, take it. Take any of your pictures that are really nice and say, act like this and this. In the style of Andy Warhol, how would you change this picture? Which elements, which hue setting would you put? Man, you will have a lot of fun. So I see it already a bit in this part, but not a lot by us, by people who do it a bit as a hobby. So I think, every single process that you do, might it be at home, might it be at work, can be totally augmented with this technology. But I'm preaching to the wrong person because you're totally aligned with me. And you're one step further, man, because you're really driving this mission of let's use these LLMs to support humanity and let's make it open source. Yeah. So commendable. I'm so honored to be here to speak to you today. I just can't thank you enough for your mission.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Malcolm. This was truly an honor, and I love our conversation. And maybe it's not particularly for me, but for the listeners at home or in traffic or while jogging or whatever they are, I'm sure that this was also like a very enticing conversation. We also invite them to connect with you if they have a company that they might want to use AI for. I'm sure you're the right person to talk to. And what else should people get in contact with you and with us, of course, using the link in the description? But with you, is there anything that you're doing now that you would like to tell the world, your new thing?
Yeah, there's one topic that's very dear to me, which is the topic of lack of usage of AI for women or minorities. I'll give you a quick example. So, my daughters are 5 and 7. Like I said, I'm afraid in this world in which they're coming. The real people who are doomsday scenario people are saying, what feminism has done for women in the last 100 years, ChatGPT will destroy in the next. Why? Because from all the 100 people who are using ChatGPT, 70% are men. Now, us men, we're privileged. We get better pay in the job, quicker promotions, lots of opportunities in the job world. Now, already these people who are privileged, who are men, we are all boosting ourselves with LLM like hell. Every man I know is using ChatGPT, top center, right bot. Yet women, only 30% of all these users are women. So if you take all men, and let's say a certain percentage of men lose their job, move from, let's say, a white-collar job to a blue-collar job, you and I are going to go to the construction site. No problem. We'll go to the construction site. We'll do this, we'll do that. There will be enough manual labor jobs for us to move to. But a very high percentage of jobs that women do are white-collar jobs, like 80%. So the same percentage cannot move to blue-collar jobs because there are not enough blue-collar jobs for women to move to. So the main point I'm trying to make here, it's an existential threat that women don't use these models because these models are learning from men. Ask this model, what should I do on the weekend? It's going to give loads of options for men. Ask Midjourney, I am a business owner, I'm this or that. Depict me. 99% it's going to make a man. So the point is, these models are also biased by how men use it. So if you ask me, is there something that you do? Man, I sit with organizations of Sisters of Code in Cambodia, of Women of Code in Barcelona, but also within large organizations like the D&I department. And they say, man, can you come and tell us a bit about this and the urgency of us, women and minorities, using these systems? And they say, so what should I do? I say, well, first of all, you use it and tell your 5 girlfriends that they should use it. Because there's no better way to further adoption than by word of mouth. Hey, this is so awesome. Your 5 friends are going to be, oh, this is so awesome. But this is a danger of these LLMs that, us as thought leaders really need to be aware of and try to tell people a bit about.
I love it. I love it. So we're definitely encouraging more women to use these LLMs, and you're definitely right that they should. And there's a great opportunity actually for them to get on this technology and get on this trend. And it's heavily going to influence their life, especially because women are more sensitive. And I feel that a lot of these language models, they're much more like logical or whatever. I would love these language models to actually learn from the sensitivity of a woman. I love women. Like I love this female energy, this kind of like very creative flow, like all of this stuff. Like I love it. And I would love these LLMs as they're learning to actually learn something from women, because women are definitely amazing. And not only should they be cherished, they should also be helped with the use of this technology.
We're not only talking about gender pay gap, we're talking about gender AI gap. Man, you know how bad this is? This is, you're propagating, helping humanity with AGA and AI Universa, which is fantastic. But then only a certain percentage of that universe will actually use it. But your mission is to empower everybody. So structurally,
Everybody.
we're already getting to a point where, wow, there's a big percentage of that universe which is not using it. How do we convert them?
That is a great question. Maybe this is the start. Maybe this is the start of them hearing about this, because you're right in so many ways. And I don't really want to beat the nail on the head, but I'll just say one
For sure.
thing. I'll just say that in blockchain, when I was like heavily involved in blockchain, there was also like a gap, and there were like a lot of like very few females actually in blockchain. And there were actually all of these blockchain organizations, like the women in blockchain. Whenever there was under an NFT collections on a project, and like a woman would jump in the chat, basically like everybody would listen because that was like so cool. But it was goes back into being this maybe like geeky society. This technology is like more or less like this like kind of geeky society. And yeah, I encourage women to jump on and know that on this project that you're on, most of the people in my marketing team and in the podcast team, they're women. Like we have definitely, it's not 50-50. Like I wouldn't say in the whole project, it's not 50-50. But I would say that we definitely have women, and I love them. And then they're doing a great job at what they are. Yeah, with the help of AI, it's actually, I think maybe it makes their job easier. Now, I'm no expert to speak in this manner, but I think it would definitely make their job easier. And I'm definitely encouraging them. And we are encouraging them to use more AI and to gain traction.
Many maybe don't understand the consequences, but also maybe don't understand the reasons. But so there's a Swiss journalist, very famous. Her name is Patricia Leri. And she tried to explain this. And she said something like, to quote her, she said, look, women are just more skeptical. Like it feels to them as if they are cheating or even defrauding when they are using AI. Yet, bro, you and I and every other man in the world, bro,
give it to me.
We couldn't care less. But imagine that she explains it like this. And I was at a big pharma company a few days ago, and then I brought the sentence as one of the slides. And lo and behold, women were like nicking. And then we had a discussion about it. We're like, what do you think? Well, they're like, yeah, because we don't know. And yeah, but you need to jump over this part, because Patricia said, if you don't do this, what did we say? Gender AI gap, which then will further the gender pay gap, which then is going to have much bigger consequences.
Yeah, it all comes back to their beautiful women's sensitivity. And we encourage them to get past this gap. And we're here to help. Like, we're here to help if they have any questions on how to use these tools. Like, they can go over to your page, whether LinkedIn and whether your company pages. We'll have the links in the description, because you already have a tutorial and everything that you're saying. And yeah, who knows? Like maybe soon a course teaching.
For sure, but these things we do for free. So there's a commercial element, but all these women in AI, gender diversity, D&I in AI, these things, any company calling me today and is, man, can you come tomorrow and do a keynote or can you do a course for us? For Frizzle, you will not put down a single cent because this is just, actually we created an initiative. It's called Diversive AI. And under the umbrella of this initiative, which I'm doing with Maria and Jacqueline, that's under the umbrella of this initiative that we're doing. Man, I will never, ever ask a company or a group or whatever for this initiative to put down a single cent. We will happily come and do a workshop with them, or do a keynote with them or whatever for free.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. And I applaud your initiative and I
Come on.
applaud your altruism
Nothing.
towards humanity. And I
Sure.
love when we meet other people that are also furthering the agenda that AI is here to help and that we should use it. We should use it to the best of
Yes,
our
sir.
ability in order to move into this next evolution of humanity.
Yes, sir. Fully agree.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Malcolm,
No,
for joining
Cosmin.
today's episode.
A great pleasure. I think we have many things in common. I am looking forward to your journey. I'm looking forward to the next podcast, to tune in myself and to learn from you and your initiative. Anything I can do for you, I beg you reach out to me, Cosmin. I'll be happy to help and support and contribute. And yeah, man, most wonderful greetings from Austria.
Thank you, Malcolm, and thank you to everybody who's listening.
Thank you for being part of today's journey on the AI Universa podcast. To continue exploring the realms of AI and the golden age we're creating, join our community via the link in the description.